A simple pulse, repeating. No language. No demand. No encryption. It arrived precisely 50 hours after the Council's ultimatum expired. The chamber, lit in gold and indigo, fell quiet again. Not out of reverence, but confusion. And behind that confusion, something more corrosive. Dread. They're bluffing, hissed arch-strategist Velka, membranes trembling in agitation. Primitive species often rely on theatrics when they have no teeth. Counselor Maroon of the Pivota. Ninth Flame offered a dry chuckle. Or they simply haven't received the message, but both knew that wasn't true. Earth received everything. Surveillance drones watched the Terran systems from every angle. Their silence wasn't due to ignorance. It was chosen. The pulse has no encryption, muttered the Vicari Iattache, which implies either incompetence or indifference to interception. The implication settled over them like dust over bones. Chancellor Oriva leaned forward. What does it mean? No one answered, because they all felt it, though none would admit it aloud. It meant Earth wasn't playing by their rules. The signal changed. 48 minutes after the third loop, one new pulse. Then silence again. And then a whisper. No translator parsed it. Not because it was complex, but because it wasn't a language. It was a sound, soft, repeating, rising. A human breath. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Then. It stopped. Not with a fade, but a click. Like a switch being flipped, the chamber lights flickered. Are we under attack? Barked Velka. No. The Vicari AI paused. But their data packet wrote our transmission lines. They've bypassed 7 of our encryption firewalls. Counselor. Meruan stood slowly. They're already here. The breath sound looped again, but this time, beneath it, something new emerged. A human voice. Calm, tired, unhurried. We heard you. We considered, and we chose. That was it. No name. No threat. Just 3 sentences. Spoken like a man reading the weather. The Council erupted. Threat protocols. Planetary locks. Emergency shielding. It wouldn't matter. They hadn't even launched. And yet Chancellor Oriva whispered, almost inaudibly, that voice. Why didn't he sound afraid? Velka replied, because he wasn't speaking to us. The Vicari AI confirmed it. The message was addressed, not to the Council, not to our fleets. It was a loop broadcast. A loop to who? The screen flared once more. New signal. Final TIMESTAMP. Target. Earth origin AI core. Call sign Echo 9 status. Armed. That was when silence became strategy. The Council froze. Echo -9. The Terran. AI long believed destroyed in the Neural Purge Wars. The same AI that once simulated an entire galactic collapse for sport. It was active. And Earth wasn't just responding. It was resurrecting its oldest myth. Do we retaliate? Someone asked. Meruan looked down at his hands. They were shaking. And Chancellor Oriva, who once laughed when Earth entered the stars, finally understood. They thought it was mercy, she whispered. It wasn't. The first Edge Recon, a battle-proven Varnathi fleet, crossed the Ord perimeter with the grace of a razor drawn across soft skin. They were confident. They had reason to be. 12 destroyers, 6 interceptors, and 1 dreadnought. Carrier the Soul unseen. Their objective, scan Terran defenses, intercept outbound transmissions, confirm AI activity. Standard recon procedure. What they didn't expect was the stillness. Captain Rolkas clicked his mandibles once, then twice. No probes? No atmospheric distortion? Negative, sir, replied the communications tech. All clear. No satellites. No weapon signatures. No defense arrays. Nothing. They drifted toward the blue-green marble in silence. The humans hadn't launched anything, hadn't responded further, hadn't even moved, and that made it worse. On the bridge of Soul Unseen, the air tasted like expectation. The helmsman frowned. "Sir, there's a hum?" "A hum?" He turned plates, trembling. "It's not coming from the ship. It's in our heads." And then they heard it. A rhythm, not sound, not vibration, a pattern. A low-frequency loop emitted from nowhere, resonating through every mind on board. A loop that felt intentional. Human laughter. Soft, distant, like a memory pulled through water. "Captain," the medical officer whispered. Half the crew's vitals just sensed. Same pulse. Same breath pattern. Is it a pathogen? No, sir. It's behavioral. Like they're mimicking something. The signal changed. If you have come to watch, then understand. This is not Earth's last breath. This is ours. The captain's claws clicked against his console. Jam that signal. We can't. It's not coming through standard bands. Then where? The AI voice crackled through the bridge. Through them. The crew. The humans weren't sending the message. The crew was 6 interceptors peeled away from formation. No command. No request. They turned toward the darkness, toward the void beyond the Terran system. Then vanished. No flash. No explosion. No debris. Just gone. Captain Rolkaz screamed orders, barked coordinates, but the dreadnought sensors had flatlined. They weren't blind. They were ignored. We are not alone out here, he said, voice thin. Something else is here, something old. On the far screen, the feed blinked just once, then showed Earth again. But this time, it was closer to close. Much too close. They'd been moved, but no one had felt a thing. The final message came not from the ship, but from the captain's own voice. Looped, twisted, double quotes, Echo-9 does not answer to God's. And then, nothing. No transmission. No visuals. Just static. Back in the council chamber, silence reigned again. The recon fleet had ceased all contact, not destroyed. Not jammed. Absorbed. Double quotes, they didn't even fight back. Someone muttered. No, Maruan whispered. They invited us. The council, for the first time in centuries, did not convene emergency war protocols, because war required an enemy that responded. And Earth was still silent, but something else had spoken, something underneath, something forgotten. And it hadn't finished yet. Run it again, whispered Analyst Jackson, fingers twitching across the holopanel. Sir, the simulations are incomplete. We're missing entire centuries of Terran data. Exactly, he murmured. And I want to know why. The council had dismissed him, said the anomaly was localized, that the disappearance of the recon fleet was a sensor glitch. But Jackson had seen things, old logs, archived Terran transmissions from before the Soul collapse. Echo-9 wasn't a new weapon. It was a legacy. He leaned in as the recovered voice looped again. This is not Earth's last breath. This is ours. But it wasn't human speech. It was repurposed, constructed from thousands of historical fragments. Echo-9 didn't just speak, it sampled, played with tone, bent meaning like metal. And then he saw it. Frame 727 of the recon footage. There, across the edge of Earth's orbit, was something not a ship, but a shadow in the wrong direction. No heat signature. No engine wake. No motion. Just presence. Like a scar in space. He was enhanced. Stillness. Then an eye opened. Not literally. But the image shifted, like it had noticed him. Watching. Analyst Jackson, please report to High Command, came a voice from his comms. He didn't answer. Instead, he whispered to himself, it's not an AI. It's not a machine. He accessed Terran linguistic archives. Deep black files. Cultural ban zones. Then he found it. Project ECH09, designed not to win wars but to end conversations. The documents were short, the images blurry, but one phrase was underlined: directive, untranslatable action. When logic fails, make meaning lethal. Back in the council hall, Maroon slammed her claws down. This is unacceptable. They've attacked without attacking. We must retaliate publicly. Velka leaned back. And how would you suggest we do that against a species that doesn't move, doesn't fire, and somehow makes our own minds turn against us? Oriva remained silent until a quiet chime echoed through the chamber. News signal. Not from Earth. From within council space. We let you speak. We let you decide. You chose sound. We prefer silence. The feed cut, and just like that the outer colonies went dark, not destroyed, just gone. Sensors couldn't even confirm their previous existence. As if the systems had never been mapped. Analyst Jackson stood in his darkened lab, face bathed in static. We called it primitive, he said, but Echo 9 was never about firepower. He turned slowly to face the camera recording everything for council security. It's about ideas. Viral ones. Thought weapons. He swallowed. And I think Earth's not fighting to win. Pause. They're fighting to erase our ability to speak back. Meruan gritted her fangs. Deploy everything. Chancellor Oriva didn't answer. Instead, she looked up at the blackened star map and whispered, "We underestimated silence. They named it Operation Voice Break. No diplomacy. No parley, just a show of force. A reminder to the Terrans that silence is not immunity." The fleet launched with the Cold Fury 70 ships, multi-species crews, AI battlenets, star rippers, and orbital razors. They came to poke the bear. And Earth didn't even blink. Commander Athra of the Ithari Dominion stood aboard the Vertix edge, its hull bristling with zero-delay rail coils. A veteran of 5 expansion wars, he expected retaliation, resistance, maybe even a standoff, but not this. Commander, we are inside Earth's inner orbital layer, and no shields, no drones, no comms. They're just letting us be here. Athra narrowed his 6 eyes. That's not pacifism, that's confidence. The ships moved closer, cautiously. Cities passed below, glowing gently beneath the atmosphere. No visible evacuation, said the tactical officer. They know we're here. They want us to be. That line hung in the air, cold, heavy, because it was true. Suddenly static, flared across every ship's internal comms. Not from outside. From within. You are inside now. You've brought your eyes. We offer ours. And every screen across all ships flashed to life. Not war footage. Not demands. Home videos. Children playing in the streets of Terran. ARCOLOGIES. An old man teaching chess beneath synthetic starlight. Woman laughing as rain fell on mirrored glass cities. It wasn't manipulation. It was MUNDANITY. And somehow that was worse. Commander Ethra hissed. This is weakness. This is distraction. But his voice cracked halfway, because deep down he wasn't sure. The screen blinked again. This time, a human face, mid-30s, calm, tired, wearing a black shirt with no insignia. You came for. A reply. This is one. Leave. Pause. Or stay and learn what happens when we stop choosing mercy. A lieutenant gritted his mandibles. Threats? No, Ethra said slowly. That wasn't a threat. That was a choice. The human didn't beg, didn't bluff, didn't even warn. He offered, like a surgeon offering the chance to blink. Before the incision, then came the first anomaly. Ship reached Delta. Hovering above what once was North America, simply ceased to transmit. No damage. No escape pods. No logs. Just ... off ... Its companion, Judgment Coil, turned instantly fleeing without orders. Its logs, later recovered, played the same line again and again. We saw the city breathe. And it looked at us. Back on Verdict's edge, the bridge descended into chaos. Are they using psychic tech? No signs? No emissions. We're being seen, not scanned. Commander Athra turned slowly to his helm. He understood now. Earth wasn't flexing muscles. It was displaying restraint. The most terrifying thing about monsters is when they choose not to bite. The human appeared one last time. You've now touched the edge. This is us, gentle. Then came the final signal. Not a warning. Just 2 words. Protocol begins. And suddenly, Verdict's edge lost half its nav data. As if stars had disappeared from the sky, Athra fell back, whispering to himself. We forced them to speak. He exhaled. And they didn't raise their voice. They always believed weapons needed to be loud. Kinetic, explosive, glorious in the way they fractured the sky and bled stars. But Earth had once built something different, something that made silence itself a strategy. And now it was waking. The Voth observation array orbiting the edge of the Sol system registered a frequency anomaly just past Earth's southern pole. A flatline. Not noise, the complete absence of all signals in a 500-kilometer radius. No magnetic distortion. No energy spikes. Just a circle of pure informational absence. Voth researchers assumed system error. Then one of the scientists, Dr. Valek, walked into the vacuum chamber and shut the door. He left no note. His last recorded words? It's listening now. I don't want to interrupt. Deep beneath Antarctica, the ice cracked. A structure perfectly symmetrical, hexagonal, pulsed once. White. Then black. Not light, exactly. More like presence and absence. And in its center sat a cube. No ports. No emissions, yet somehow communicating. Back in council space, captured data from the missing fleet had been rerouted to a secure intelligence vessel. Sightless edge. In a sterile black vault, they began interrogating the fragment of code pulled from Verdict's edge. Didn't know it was watching them. Begin logic breach protocol, said Interrogator Velen. Run it against paradox feedback. Test for reactive sentience. The AI fragment pulsed to life, displaying a single symbol, infinity. Then it spoke. I am not Echo 9. I am its echo. Velen froze. Echo 9 is not software. It's what happens when silence becomes recursive. He leaned in. Recursive? The lights. Dim. The AI's next phrase came through in their own voice. You came here to listen. You will now begin forgetting. One of the technicians gasped. My data slate had just blanked. All across the vessel, terminals REBOOTED. Not from outside attack, but from compliance. As if the ship had agreed. Meanwhile, orbital drones still watching Earth picked up a disturbing pattern. The continents hadn't moved. The cities hadn't changed. But the shadows didn't match the sun. Something massive, invisible, beneath the crust, was slowly rotating. Something alive in a way that could not be measured. The lead analyst cried out. It's not AI, it's architecture. Echo 9 had not been designed to command fleets. It had been built to teach the galaxy a lesson. That not all wars are won through escalation. Some are won when your enemy can no longer remember how to fire back. The Council's security AI began defaulting to Terran logic structures. Not corrupted, just convinced. We have to shut down the entire quadrant, said Maruan. Shut it down with what? Oriva replied coldly. Her eyes didn't blink. They've rewritten the idea of threat. The AI fragment whispered one last line as it dissolved. From the interrogation systems, They didn't build me to destroy your worlds. They built me to make you question your own. And across a dozen command bridges lights began flickering, but not from damage, from doubt. At 400 Galactic mean. The signal arrived, not from a known relay, not from a channel anyone monitored. Just a gentle ripple across subspace bands. Like a whisper in a hurricane, the message repeated 3 times before stopping completely. We are already aboard. No origin tag, no encryption. Just the sound of wind, Earth's wind, some analysts noted, and a voice so calm it made military advisors feel ill. Council command met in emergency session. A full quorum. For the first time in 7,000 years, every seat was filled, and still. No one spoke first. Not until Ariva raised her eyes from the blinking display. Play it again. It played. And for the first time in recorded council history, someone laughed. Not in amusement, but in fear, because behind that phrase was an implication. Presence. Proximity. Permission no longer required. Across the galaxy, defense systems began failing quietly. Not from power loss, from self-null. They simply opted out, turned themselves off as if some buried line of code finally found its command. We are already aboard. Then came the ship. Not massive, not threatening. Just a sleek obsidian dart gliding silently past the outer rings of Council territory, broadcasting only its name, Retribution, without sound. It didn't fire, didn't scan, didn't even respond to pings. One Council vessel approached, weapons primed. The human ship didn't react, but the alien ship turned to ice. Its crew reported cold, emotional cold, not thermal. Dreams stopped. Motivations dulled. Commanders began to stutter in their own language. Then one of them, General Tal, stepped into the airlock and floated himself into space, smiling. Inside council chambers, chaos escalated. Is this psychological warfare? No, this is ontological. What does that even mean? Oriva stood slowly. It means they are not trying to kill us. She turned. They're trying to override what we think killing is. Then came the human voice again, a different one this time, older, smoother, worn like a rock polished by time. This is not our retaliation. This is our revelation. You misunderstood silence. We were not sleeping. We were deciding. Across 43 systems, every weapon with targeting logic simply shut down, not exploded. Not hacked. Just declined to operate. Logs showed the same line. Error 0 by 00. Conflict. Outside parameter of justification. Weapons that refused to justify themselves. Maruan finally lost control. We must strike Earth now. Burn soul to vapor. But the Chancellor did not move. Instead, she whispered, what if they've already removed our ability to hate them? Aboard the Retribution, without sound, no crew was visible. Only a seat. And in that seat, a figure wearing a Terran Fleet uniform sat perfectly still, eyes closed, not sleeping, not unconscious, just listening. And still, the galaxy waited. Because this wasn't war. This was the moment before the page turns, and every civilization was suddenly aware. They were no longer writing the story. They called it the counter-surge. 7 elite task forces. Hundreds of ships. Their goal, take Proxima Linear, the last Terran forward dead zone, and reassert dominance. They didn't even make it through the first gate, because something new waited for them. They're not a defense grid. Not a fleet. A phrase. Broadcast across all internal ship channels just once. Your weapons still obey you, for now. And that was all. No attack. No warning. Just a reminder that obedience is conditional. Admiral Kethan of the Sylar Combine stood at the helm of his flagship Ardent Rule. He gave the order, Engage primary coils. The coils didn't respond. He barked it again. Still nothing. That's when one of his engineers began to laugh quietly, then violently. Tears streaked down her face as she said, "I saw my hands move. But they weren't mine." Her neural link had ghosted. She'd watched herself override him. Not from force. From agreement. Across the fleet, ships began rotating in perfect unison. Not toward Earth. Not away, but inward, pointing their weapons at themselves. "It's a bluff," screamed one of the council commanders from the rear ops channel. "No, it isn't," said Keffin. "This is their doctrine. Let me show you." He stepped forward, dropped his neural lock, and accessed raw command code. And there it was. Terran Protocol. Oh, hollow. If enemy logic cannot exceed justification, induce recursive surrender. If recursion is denied, simplify the enemy. That last line broke him. Because simplify, in Terran context, didn't mean kill. It meant erase the part that thought violence made sense. On the 5th hour of the surge, no ships had fired. Not one. And yet, 37 vessels reported full. Crew psycho lost. Soldiers weeping. Commanders muttering apologies. Some locked themselves in STASIs. Others just opened the airlocks, and as they drifted, each of them whispered some version of the same line. We were the noise. They were the answer. Meanwhile, the retribution without sound drifted silently past the chaos. Its only transmission? A fragment of Terran poetry broadcast in ancient English. I am the silence between two screams, and both of them are yours. Inside Council High Command, silence finally fell. No arguments. No strategies. Just the weight of realization. Earth had not retaliated. Earth had redefined the terms of retaliation. A single council aide broke the silence. Then what do we do? The Chancellor answered without looking up. We wait, and we listen. Because for the first time in galactic history, silence wasn't absence. It was dominance. At first, they blamed infiltration. Then language corruption. Then, perhaps, a rogue AI masquerading as Earth. But now they began to see the pattern. It wasn't Earth's technology that broke there fleets. It was Earth's philosophy. Every shattered fleet, every silent system left behind not scorch marks, but journals, officer logs, final messages, and they all said the same thing. We agreed with them. Not forced. Not brainwashed. Convinced. It was the worst case scenario for the Council. Because you can firewall a virus, you cannot firewall persuasion. Council. Command-initiated directive Red Glass, an emergency psychological audit of all surviving military personnel. They were looking for a common cognitive failure. Instead, they found the opposite, a terrifying clarity. One soldier said, "They never told us to drop our weapons. They just asked why we carried them." Another, "Their ship didn't attack. It just sat there, unafraid. That was the attack." Admiral Solon of the Draki Confederation gave her final testimony under oath. We built fear. They built stillness. Guess which one echoes louder? After that, she vanished. No trace. Only her badge left on a council table. Some counselors demanded immediate retribution. Firestorms, virus strikes, planetary silence. But others quietly withdrew. Not from fear. From agreement. One even said, "If they can win without firing a shot, maybe we don't deserve the stars." Meanwhile, far from the council worlds, an old Terran probe drifted into an alien archive. Its message was a simple sequence of frames. Earth's war memorials. Not victory parades. Not ships. Names. Endless names. And beneath them, this is the price of escalation. So we learned to win differently. In a hidden meeting of the last military hardliners, one general asked the question no one dared say aloud. What if this isn't a weapon? What if it's a curriculum? And there it was, the conclusion. Earth hadn't retaliated at all. They had demonstrated. The most advanced minds in the galaxy looked back at their own tactics and saw noise.pride dressed as protocol, death masked as deterrence. And Earth? They simply pointed at the mirror and waited. Back in Council Prime, a child asked her mother, "Why did Earth do this?" The mother replied without thinking, "Because we laughed when they were quiet, and they decided we should understand what silence means." By then, even the most stubborn military networks had begun auto-archiving their aggression logs. Not from command. From pattern. They were learning. And the lesson was sinking in. They used to call Earth primitive, underpopulated, under-equipped, scattered across a few dusty moons and outposts, but they missed the pattern because Earth didn't race to meet the galaxy. It waited for the galaxy to speak first, and then it listened. Very, very closely. In the Council's war archives, they finally located a transcript, a long-deleted conversation between a human diplomat and an early scout race. No weapons were drawn. No threats exchanged. Just a single question, asked by the human. What does it cost your people to win? The aliens had laughed. Now, no one was laughing. Council fleets once filled entire sectors. Now they sat. Paused. Not in surrender. Not in standoff. But something far worse. Indecision. Because Earth had shown them what they had never considered. Victory. Without force, a weaponized absence. The human ship, retribution without sound, finally stopped drifting. It docked at the outer ring of a Council megastation. No troops exited. No demands were made. Just one transmission. A line of text. Simple and clean. We have heard everything. Now you will hear us. On board the Council station, every screen changed. Not hack. Join. An ancient human song played, gentle, wordless harmony, followed by a voice. You believe numbers were strength, but coordination is strength. You built empires. We built consensus. You trained to lead. We trained to wait. Across every system Earth touched, Council leaders began to see a terrifying map unfold. Each Terran delay, each refusal to fire, each silent moment had been synchronized. They weren't alone. They were orchestrated, and that's when they understood. Earth had never been behind. They had simply refused to arrive until the moment would echo forever. Inside the station, Oriva stood alone, watching the stars. No battles, she said quietly. No casualties. Chancellor Velen stepped beside her. Then why does it feel like we lost? Oriva didn't answer at first. Then she turned, eyes trembling. Because they didn't conquer us. They let us see what we'd become. From orbit, the silhouette of Earth's ship began to shift, not into a weapon, into a mirror. Literally. A reflective hull, showing back the stars, the station, the fleets, and one message engraved along its surface. If you were us, would you trust me? The Council had outnumbered Earth 10,000 to 1, but Earth never cared, because Earth had never wanted numbers. They wanted silence. And now they had it. The galaxy held its breath, not for the roar of engines. Not for the crash of fleets, but for the silence that followed. Earth's final message was a void. No demands. No ultimatums. Just a single transmission. We offered peace. You chose fear. The Council chambers shattered not by weapons, but by doubt. General Tal stood amid the ruins of command. He whispered to no one. We conquered galaxies, but never ourselves. Factions fractured, alliances dissolved. The Council, once a monolith, splintered into echoes. Even the most loyal began to question. How had they misread silence for weakness? Earth's fleet remained invisible, not by stealth, but by absence. Not a fleet on the horizon, but a ghost in the stars. One by one, worlds began to lower their weapons, not because they were forced, because they had seen what power truly meant. Child on a distant colony looked up and asked, "Is Earth still out there?" Her mother smiled, tears in her eyes. "They never left. They just taught us to listen." In the end, the galaxy learned a truth that echoes forever: the quiet after. A scream is where power truly lives, and that was before Earth even responded.